Let's take a look at this problem. We got x to the third plus 3x squared minus x minus 3 over x squared plus 4x plus 3 times 7x minus 14 over x minus 1. And we're multiplying these together. So our first step is to factor everything. Now this is grouping 4 more terms. Now it might lead into something else, but it starts out with grouping. This one is PSD, x squared x, no number in front of the x squared. And this one is GCF. They're both divisible by 7. So let's start with the grouping one. So we got, let's see, x to the third plus 3x squared minus x minus 3. With grouping, we group the first two terms together, group last two terms together. Now the first two terms have an x squared in common, and that gives us x plus 3. Second group doesn't have anything in common, but the first term's negative, so I factor out a -1, and that gives us x plus 3. Now our goal with grouping is to get this parentheses the same as that, which they are. So I'll factor out an x plus 3. Now to see what goes in your second set of parentheses, you can now cross out these x plus 3's. And what isn't crossed out is what goes right here, which would be x squared minus 1. X squared minus 1. Two terms of the minus between it. That's difference two squares. So the x plus 3 carries down, and we're going to try to rewrite this as something squared minus something else squared. Now you take a look at each individual piece, and you ask yourself what times itself gives you that. Like the x squared, x times x gives you x squared. For the 1 times 1. Now we're going to label what's inside our first set of parentheses as f for first. We'll label what's inside our last set of parentheses as L for last. And our formula for the difference two squares is f plus L times f minus L. Now the x plus 3 carries down. Wherever there's an f, we'll plug in x. Wherever there's an L, we'll plug in 1. So this becomes x plus 1, x minus 1. So the top part here factors as x plus 3, x plus 1, x minus 1. Now let's take a look at the PSD one. We got our x squared plus 4x plus 3. PSD, we take the number at the end, which is a 3, and we ignore signs. So if it's a -3, we'd still just take 3. We come up with our 3 columns. We want P as product. We want to write all the products give us 3. This one's pretty boring. It's a prime. It's 1 times 3. The S column. S for sum. We now add these together. 1 plus 3 is 4. The D stands for difference. We subtract smaller from larger. 3 minus 1 is 2. Now the number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is a 4, which is right here, which means I'm going to use 1 and 3. So we've got x, 1, x, and 3. Now our larger number in the P column that we're using, which is a 3, will always be the same sign as the middle term. The middle term in this problem is positive, so that'll be positive. Now, number with circles in the S column, S for same signs. They're either both going to be positive or both negative. Well, since this one's positive, then this one has to be positive. So that factors as x plus 1 times x plus 3. Now, 7x minus 14. The GCF is 7, so I'll factor that out. And that gives us x minus 14 divided by 7 is 2. And then the x minus 1 we can't do anything with. Step 2, cancel. The only guideline on canceling is one's on top, one's on the bottom, and they're the same. So here's an x plus 1, and here's an x plus 1. One's on top, one's on the bottom, they're the same. Here's an x plus 3, here's an x plus 3. One's on top, one's on the bottom, they're the same. Here's an x minus 1, here's an x minus 1. One's on top, one's on the bottom, they're the same. And that looks like all we can cancel, so we're actually left with 7 times x minus 2. Usually they don't multiply it back through. That's how they'd write their answer.